The Department of Justice has filed a rare misconduct complaint against Chief Judge James E. Boasberg of the U.S. District Court for D.C., one of the nation's most powerful judicial posts. This move, ordered by Attorney General Pam Bondi, marks a dramatic escalation in tensions between the Trump administration and the federal judiciary. Bondi announced the action publicly, declaring the DOJ would not tolerate comments that, in her view, undermine the judiciary's integrity. The complaint accuses Boasberg of making improper public comments about President Trump, alleging these remarks were intended to erode judicial impartiality. The DOJ argues that a chief judge must remain neutral, both in rulings and public statements, and claims Boasberg crossed a critical line. This is not a quiet internal review, it's a public confrontation, forcing the judiciary to examine one of its own. The executive branch is using official channels to challenge a judge's fitness and impartiality, demanding a formal review. The move is part of a broader, ongoing conflict between the administration and the courts over sensitive policy issues. By filing this complaint, the DOJ is asking the judiciary to police itself for what it sees as political bias. The implications are profound, raising questions about the separation of powers and the independence of the courts. This action will likely be debated for years to come. The stage is set for a high-stakes battle over the boundaries of judicial conduct. The complaint centers on remarks Boasberg allegedly made during a closed-door judicial conference meeting in March 2025. The DOJ claims Boasberg warned fellow judges, including Chief Justice Roberts, that the Trump administration might ignore court rulings, risking a constitutional crisis. The Justice Department frames these comments as prejudicial, arguing Boasberg was improperly influencing his peers and showing bias against the administration. Supporters counter that Boasberg was responsibly raising legitimate concerns about threats to judicial authority. The core question: were his words an act of bias or a necessary warning about the rule of law? The judiciary must now decide if Boasberg's remarks cross the line into misconduct. The outcome could redefine what judges are allowed to say behind closed doors. This complaint is the latest in a series of clashes between Judge Boasberg and the Trump administration. Boasberg, an Obama appointee, has blocked several of the administration's immigration policies, including a high-profile order halting the deportation of Venezuelan migrants. These rulings have drawn direct attacks from President Trump, who even called for Boasberg's impeachment. Chief Justice Roberts publicly defended judicial independence, rebuking the idea of impeachment over policy disagreements. The DOJ's complaint now formalizes the administration's long-standing grievances, citing past conflicts as evidence of bias. The administration is using the misconduct process to challenge a judge it sees as a political adversary. This formal complaint is the culmination of years of tension between the White House and the federal bench. The complaint has triggered strong reactions across Washington. Attorney General Bondi insists the action is necessary to protect the judiciary's integrity. President Trump has amplified the complaint, framing it as a fight against a biased judiciary. Chief Justice Roberts has not commented on the new complaint, but his earlier defense of judicial independence looms large. The case now goes to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, which must decide whether to dismiss the complaint, impose sanctions, or escalate the matter. The process, usually confidential, is now a public spectacle under intense political scrutiny. The judiciary faces the challenge of judging one of its own while under the national spotlight. The outcome will test the resilience and independence of the courts. The DOJ is demanding a special investigation into Boasberg's conduct and the reassignment of his ongoing cases. The administration argues his alleged bias disqualifies him from presiding over cases involving its policies. The complaint raises the stakes by suggesting possible disciplinary actions, including public reprimand or even impeachment. Critics warn this move could chill judges from speaking out about threats to judicial independence. The heart of the matter: can judges voice concerns about executive overreach without risking political retaliation? The public's trust in the justice system depends on the perception of judicial neutrality. How the judiciary responds will shape the future of American justice. The integrity of the courts and the balance of power hangs in the balance.